Hello, this is Jackie.
Hi, this is David calling.
It's Mary calling.
I can't come into work today.
I've got like really bad flu symptoms.
Fever and my throat is sore.
Probably be off for the next few days.
I'll try it tomorrow, or maybe.
Hopefully, I'll be back in tomorrow.
The casualty list grows this time of year. It's the losing battle against colds and flu.
Okay, can you cough for me now?
Every year, cold symptoms send more than 10 million Canadians running to doctors for relief.
Okay.
You can run from the cold, but you can seldom hide. There are more than 200 cold viruses swirling around. Sooner or later, those persistent invaders are going to get you. Meet the enemy, a cold virus. So tiny it would take 1 million to make up an inch, and it's virtually impossible to rid the world of them. Even if you could develop a vaccine against one virus, it would be useless against all the others.
You could get a cold every year for the rest of your life, and still there'd be another cold that you wouldn't be immune to.
And again?
Dr. Pauline Pariser is in the trenches. Her Toronto practice treats its share of misery, and she says it's been an especially brutal winter for colds and flu. She's not sure why, but she's certain it has nothing to do with the cold temperatures. One of the biggest myths, she says, is that the cold will give you a cold.
Actually, having wet hair, putting your feet in cold water, exposing yourself to cold air, going out without your coat, in all the research, and there's been plenty of it, there has been no increased incidence of catching a virus when they exposed two equal groups to viruses.
You mean everything our mothers have ever told us about catching a cold is wrong? You know, don't go out after taking a bath. You're sure to catch a cold. Your body temperature's warm.
I hate to say this to the mothers of the world, but according to the research, yes.
But isn't it interesting? You're a physician, you know the research, and I bet you don't let your kid go outside in cold weather.
I still have trouble with that piece of information. I have to admit that, yeah.
Okay, what about kissing? Mom had to be right about that one. Wrong again. It seems the wet, warm mouth is not the best place for the virus to thrive.
They did these wonderful studies at the University of Wisconsin, the kissing studies, where they had different groups, and they were instructed to kiss at 45-second intervals, their preferred method of kissing. And afterwards, they measured, the people who were the donors with the virus were kissing people who didn't have the virus. Only 8% of people actually got a cold.
Colds are caused by the mighty virus invading the vulnerable nose. Colds like the nose because it's cooler than the rest of the body. Average temperature, 32 degrees Celsius. Perfect conditions for a virus to set up shop and create maximum discomfort. But if the virus doesn't get to the upper section of the nose, called the nasopharynx, that's where the nose and the throat meet, you will not get a cold. So the virus must get in nose range to infect you, and it's the hands that get the virus to the nose.
Rhinovirus is extremely efficient. In 10-second contact, if I shook your hands, within 10 seconds, 20 out of 28 people got a virus from someone who had infected hands.
Let's say someone with a cold touches other people or things. They leave behind viruses that can live up to 3 hours. This man sneezes. The virus is now all over his hands. He then picks up this payphone, smearing live virus over the receiver. You come along and use the same phone. You get more than a dial tone. You have his viruses all over your hands. Later, you touch your nose, and bingo. When you inhale, the virus goes straight up your nose, heading for the danger zone where the infection can begin. The eyes are also a point of entry. Rub your eyes, and the virus can pass through the tear ducts into the nasopharynx. And these are the foot soldiers in the Cold War. Their tiny hands, lethal weapons, spreading infection to unsuspecting adults. kids by far get and give more colds.
It means. And like this.
Pity the teacher, especially the novice who hasn't done battle with these bugs before.
It's been hard on my health because just from the beginning, from the first month of September, I started to be sick in terms of colds, strep throat, infections. Your immune system isn't developed yet to fight off the colds because one child starts and they spread it easily.
Kids are more susceptible to colds and flus because they haven't had the time to develop immunity to resist them. Every time they set foot in a daycare or school, they are exposed to a new virus. This is what starts the epidemic of colds every fall, not the cold weather. Preschool children get 6 to 10 colds a year. Teenagers average 6 colds. And by the time you hit your 40s and 50s, you're down to 2 or 3 a year. Stand clear of the cold sufferer, because you can breathe in cold viruses that are propelled when people cough and sneeze.
If I had a cold and I sneezed in front of you and we're this far, and I didn't cover my mouth, are you sure to get it?
If you had a severe cold and we were speaking like this over a prolonged period of time, I might. If I was less than a few feet away, I might. But it's also a less efficient means of transmitting virus than direct contact.
So it's interesting, you said if colds are not efficiently transmitted just through the air, but we're telling our kids, cover your mouth when you cough and you sneeze.
Well, what we're basically telling our kids when we do that is get some more germs on those hands and then go rub them around. It would be better to say to your kids, turn your head.
But if it's the flu, look out. You don't want to get too close to somebody who has influenza because the virus is airborne. So if they sneeze or cough in your face, it's over. You've got a snoot full. And you know what the symptoms are. Your whole body aches, you get a high fever. But unlike the cold, the flu can kill you.
Every year, these microbes claim 2,000 Canadian lives. And every winter, we suffer through an epidemic of flu.
One of the reasons it causes those epidemics is because it's actually a very interesting virus. It changes slightly every year, and that allows it to sort of come back at the same time every year.
At the Laboratory Center for Disease Control in Ottawa, they keep track of which strains of influenza are making the rounds in the country and around the world. Keeping an eye on the virus is crucial in developing the right vaccine.
So if it changes every year, how do you know what to inject people with?
What we try to do with the vaccine is to try and keep ahead of the virus. So we look at the strains that are sort of up and coming, if you will, at the end of a given year. It's those strains that are usually the ones that then go into the vaccine for the next year.
A shot in the arm every fall is the only way to keep these bugs at bay, especially if you're over 65 or have health problems. Otherwise, you're pretty much defenseless. But these are practical steps you can take to minimize the misery. If you think you've been infected by a cold or flu virus, wash your hands. It really will remove viruses. And don't forget, keep your hands away from your nose and eyes. And beware of the cold sufferer, especially the most dangerous of all, the kid with the runny nose.